It's a great day to be an American. It's a great day to be a Republican.
The Trump administration has revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students in its escalating battle with the Ivy League school. It says thousands of current students must transfer to other schools or leave the country. The Department of Homeland Security announced the action earlier today, saying Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment by allowing anti-American pro-terrorist agitators to assault Jewish students on campus. It also accused Harvard of coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party, saying it hosted and trained members of a Chinese paramilitary group as recently as 2024. More news at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Looked at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Fierce storms have unleashed several floodings across the South Wales, Australia area. The BBC's Phil Mercer is in Sydney.
Some areas north of Sydney have had 4 months' worth of rain in just a few days. More heavy downpours are forecast. Residents have been rescued from their rooftops by helicopters. Rivers have overflowed and towns have been inundated. Many communities are without power and roads and schools have been closed. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is urging people in the worst-hit regions to obey emergency evacuation orders. The authorities say the threat of dangerous flooding could extend to parts of Sydney.
The music agency Sound Talent Group said today that 3 of its employees died on that private plane that crashed into a San Diego neighborhood. The talent group says the dead include Dave Shapiro, the agency's co-founder. He is listed as the owner of the plane and has a pilot's license.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear, comfy, a low temp of 61. Tomorrow we cool down a bit, mostly sunshine-filled skies, a few passing clouds, and a 20% chance an afternoon scattered shower. The high reaches 82. For the weekend, 82 on Saturday, a blend of sun and clouds, while on Sunday, mostly cloudy, some afternoon storms possible. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, let's get it rolling on a big Thursday night. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network. We are loaded tonight. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut from our studios in Atlanta. We have Chris Bergen from our studios in Sardis, where the traffic in Sardis about this time of day is about like it is on 285. Well, let me rephrase that. More like an exit off 285 would be the equal of the traffic around Sardis. Nonetheless, good to have Bergie with us from his plush studios, as you can see in the background. Look at all that electronic equipment. He doesn't miss a thing with, what's that, the Beverly Hillbillies you have on in the background?
Actually, one of my favorite shows, Chicago PD. They run a marathon on Thursdays on ION, so that is Chicago PD in the background.
It doesn't get past
It will
you.
soon change over to Clemson baseball at 7.
There you go. And, of course, we have the plumber, Josh Cohen, at our studios in Columbia, holding down the fort there. And the fourth wheel that we have with us tonight is, of course, Matt Smith from the ACC baseball tournament in Durham, North Carolina. He'll join us in just a moment. Let me tell you what we got coming up. John Whittle of the Big Spur, good friend of the program, has written a scathing story about the South Carolina baseball season with information only John Whittle can get to, because John is so good at what he does and has great contacts all around South Carolina's program, and, of course, is really heavily involved as far as covering Gamecock baseball. None better. And he wrote an eye-popping, eye-opening story today about the Gamecock baseball season with information that only John would know and would confirm and could report. And he'll join us at 6:35 to talk more about it. And, Bergie, I know you read it as well, and as I read it, I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, my gosh, I can't believe what I believe what I'm reading, but I can't believe what I'm reading. It was just not a very positive picture inside the South Carolina baseball program from this first season under Paul Mainieri.
It paints a very stark picture of, quite frankly, Phil, incompetence with regards to Paul Mainieri, Terry Rooney, and the coaching staff at South Carolina. And I may owe an apology to Roman Kimball's father. You know, yesterday you read his comments from Facebook, and I kind of brushed it off as an upset parent, which he obviously was. But you start reading some of the stuff that John pointed out, I don't know that Mr. Kimball's that far off base. I mean, they, according to John's story, and I don't want to steal all his thunder, but they mishandled an injury situation with one of their younger pitchers, and Eddie Copper failed to put Brandon Stone on the travel roster to Texas A&M. I mean, Phil, these are things that you just can't do and are indefensible. And I'll be fascinated to see what develops and comes from this over the next few days, because obviously if Jeremiah Donati, the new AD over at USC, reads through this, he's got to have a very, very heart-to-heart conversation with Paul Mainieri and figure out what is going on with that program, because, quite frankly, it does not paint a very good picture of what USC baseball is right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll wait till John joins us to kind of go through it. You touched on it. There's some other stuff that just leaves you scratching your head like, I can't believe that that's the case. But obviously John's writing it, so you know it is. So John will be with us. Mike Morgan, of course, he too has great insight on the baseball scene all around the SEC, ACC. He'll join us 7:05. 7:35, one of the best high school basketball coaches ever in our state, Tim Whipple from Irmo. He's been retired for a couple of years. He's going to go into the National High School Coaches Association Hall of Fame. That was announced last night. What an honor for him. What an honor for our state to have another coach going into the National Hall of Fame. He'll join us at 7:35. Plus, we've got a lot of news notes, important news notes to talk about. We'll have an edition of As the NIL Churns tonight. We got more of that stuff to kick around. Oh, yeah. So it's a busy, busy show. Let's welcome in. He's not always the fourth wheel. Sometimes he's the third wheel. Sometimes he's the number one guy. That would be Matt Smith from the ACC tournament in Durham, North Carolina. Clemson coming up tonight, 7 o'clock against NC State. But there's been action today, as only the ACC can dish it out. Of course, that traditional ACC powerhouse, California, in action today against Georgia Tech. Welcome in, Smitty.
Yeah, Cal finally had their Cinderella run here in Durham, halted in front of dozens and dozens of fans sitting on their hands, who many of whom just learned that Cal had joined the Atlantic Coast Conference some time ago. But Georgia Tech just took care of business, 10-3 today, and Georgia Tech looks like what we expected them to be, a top seed. And we'll get to NC State Clemson in just a moment, but I don't want to fail to mention, because some Clemson fans, you have the benefit of looking ahead, which the coaches and the players don't. But if Clemson can get past NC State tonight in the quarterfinals, they would face Georgia Tech in the semifinals. And Georgia Tech did throw their number one arm today, McKee, but McKee has actually not been the better pitcher for Georgia Tech in the second half of the season. As a matter of fact, ever since Clemson faced McKee and Georgia Tech, his ERA has ballooned to 5.4. He had a really good start today, though. 6 1/3, 2 earned runs, and that helped Georgia Tech pick up the win against Cal. But more importantly, that leaves the number 2 arm for Georgia Tech, number 99, Brady Jones, who has been lights out in the second half of the season. When he came into the Clemson series back in late March, he carried a 4.42 ERA into his start against Clemson. He went 5 innings, scoreless. Ever since then, his ERA has dropped to 3.8, and he has just been terrific in the second half of the season, but they've opted to keep him as the Saturday starter. So Clemson is actually facing the one pitcher that beat them in Atlanta if they can get past NC State tonight at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, got to get past that NC State team, which Eric Backus told us earlier in the week that, of course, they ran into a very hot NC State, Smitty, NC State team in Raleigh, and got swept by NC State, if my memory is correct. But kind of since then, NC State's cooled off a little bit heading down the home stretch here. So hard to beat a team 4 times. I think Clemson setting up for some revenge here tonight.
Yeah, they could be. So Drew Titsworth, we expect to go. That's what he told you on Sports Talk. Eric Backus did earlier in the week. Now, he didn't have a lot of success against NC State last time, but we don't know who NC State is throwing. If they go with their normal Friday rotation, it's going to be the left-hander, which is Dominic Fritton, and Fritton is one of those guys that he's been hot and cold recently. NC State won the game he started against Clemson because, as you said, they swept Clemson in Raleigh. But in that game, Fritton wasn't great. 4 earned runs in 4 innings. That was his second shortest outing of the season. So Clemson didn't have a lot of problems getting to him. It's just that NC State's offense carried the day, and they went on to roll up Clemson in a big way and get the win in that one. And then Fritton had a poor start on the road at Miami, 6 earned in 6 1/3. But then in his last 2 starts, he's been terrific. Just 2 earned runs in his last 2 starts. One, a win against North Carolina, and a hard luck loss against Stanford as NC State stumbled down the stretch against Stanford, dropping 2 of 3 when they had their opportunity to reach out for the brass ring. So it's going to be interesting what NC State opts to do because they don't have a true ace on this staff. They really go with they go with some veteran arms at the top of the rotation, but they carry pretty hefty ERAs, and the bullpen's good and the offense is good when NC State is rolling. But as you mentioned, they've scuffled as of late, 6 of 9. That's what NC State has dropped heading into this game. Meanwhile, Clemson has won 4 straight. So really 2 teams heading in opposite directions. It's going to be fascinating what happens tonight, 4 seed versus the 5 seed. I expect it to be a very tight ball game, and we need to keep this in mind when you talk about pitching. Backus has his full complement tonight. Malstedt didn't throw last night. Reed Garris is available. Joe Allen is available again. So even if Titsworth doesn't have his swing and miss stuff early on, Backus has his full complement of bullpen arms to turn to.
Yeah, and do we all agree, and Bergie, I'll let you jump in here as well, Clemson is safe as far as hosting now, even if they lose tonight to NC State? Feel like they'll be a top 16 team. Those regional host sites will be announced at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, and then the field for the tournament noon on Monday. By the way, we will be on the air, of course, Monday with Sports Talk, as we always are on Memorial Day, because it's an important day from the standpoint of sports with the NCAA tournament field being set up. So that being said, I'll start with you, Smitty, swinging around to Bergie. I mean, do we feel like Clemson is safely in the top 16 regardless of what happens tonight?
I certainly think so. I thought after they picked, all they needed was 1 win, and they maybe didn't even need that. I think they are certainly safe as a regional host. D1 baseball, before this tournament began, I think these projections came out 3 or 4 days ago, had Clemson in as a 12. and their RPI is so high, plus the victories. So if you have any respect for the top of the ACC, it hurt Clemson that they finished 5th in the conference. But what helps them is the RPI, and then look at that sheer number of wins. To get 42 wins, to have an ACC club get 40-plus wins, I think they are absolutely positively safe. And you said it last night, Corn. I think where it gets interesting is the chess match as the committee starts moving pieces around the board. Does Clemson get, say, an Alabama? Does Clemson get a Kentucky in their regional? Do they get a Florida in their regional, or an Ole Miss? That's where it gets really interesting, how tough that 2 seed is going to be.
Yeah, what do you think, Bergie?
I think Smitty's right, and I think you're right. I think they are in as a host. I think they can only help themselves moving further up the ladder by winning the ACC championship. It may still not be enough to get them on the top 8 line, which I think is critical for them, Phil. I don't think they can win a super regional on the road. Just judging by what I've seen from them this year, their road performance not anywhere close to what it's been at home. You put them in that circus-type atmosphere at Club DKS and give them another shot at a super, I think they get out and go to Omaha, but it's going to be awfully difficult for them, and especially if you're looking at the matchup that D1 Baseball had that Smitty referenced, them having to go to Georgia and face that offense, team that led the country in home runs. I think the more interesting question is, what happens if Clemson wins tonight and then beats Georgia Tech tomorrow night? Is Georgia Tech, because right now they're sitting on the 16 line, could that hurt their chances, even though they were the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament? I mean, especially if a team like, let's say, Florida runs through and continues to play as well as it has been, could Florida jump up and steal that last regional site from a place like Georgia Tech if the Yellow Jackets don't advance to the weekend?
No, actually, they wouldn't play again until Saturday because they get a day off. They play.
That's right. Yeah.
The 1 o'clock game tomorrow is set. Duke, Florida State, Boston College, and North Carolina. That is set. Then Georgia Tech at 1 o'clock will play winner of NC State and Clemson. So get a chance to rest up there a little bit. Weather looking good, Smitty. No concerns there.
I need to look at the forecast, but it is hot. It has been sunny all day. We have. I was just talking to some of the ACC representatives, and they were keeping their fingers crossed, and they were bringing out Joe Boo's rum and praying to their gods that it stays just like it is, because you couldn't have asked for a better atmosphere. And what a host. Durham is a great host. So anybody, the next time the tournament is here, I encourage you to take advantage of this. Yes, I make some cracks about the crowd with Cal here, but when this tournament turns its attention toward the weekend, and you've got Florida State, North Carolina, and teams like Clemson and NC State playing, I expect this place to fill up and give it a great atmosphere. And the weather has been just absolutely pristine. I hope it continues.
Absolutely. That is a wonderful ballpark in downtown Durham, and like so many cities with downtown ballparks now, they have built around it with restaurants and fun stops. So that's done wonders for downtown Durham. Thank you, Smitty, and hope you don't smell like cigarettes coming out of Durham. 30 years ago you would have, but not so much anymore. Yeah.
They would have been sponsored by R.J. Reynolds, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's right. They left the signage up. The tobacco companies paid for this town, but I haven't seen anybody smoking any cigarettes. I did see a kid with blue hair vaping, but really, he's on his own. He didn't have any. His boys weren't with him.
All right, we'll check back with you about 7:30 or so. Good hearing
Appreciate
from
it,
you.
Smitty.
Catch up on some other baseball this afternoon. It's in the Big South tournament. You've got Upstate has shut out Winthrop 7-0. Charleston Southern scoring a lot of runs once again in the bottom of the 6th, leading High Point 14-11. After that one's over, Winthrop and Radford will play again, elimination game. Upstate has moved to the 11 o'clock game tomorrow morning as their fine season continues. CAA tournament in Charleston, in Mount Pleasant. At Patriots Point, you've got Elon eliminating William and Mary 7-4. And once again, Charleston having trouble with that Northeastern pitching. I saw one projection had Northeastern as the number 2 seed at Clemson. Be careful what you wish for there, Tiger fans. Thinking, oh boy, that's going to be a walkover. No, it won't be. Northeastern, as we have heard repeatedly, has outstanding pitching, and they're shutting out Charleston 6-0, top of the 8th. Still to come there, Campbell and Wilmington. And then, as we continue to check through the scoreboards here and get to the next prominent
While
one
you do
on
that,
our
Phil,
schedule.
We don't have to be told. I'll throw you facts about Northeastern's pitching. They lead the country in ERA at 2.94 as a team.
Yeah.
Put that into perspective as to what the Gamecocks struggled with in terms of ERA this year.
Total opposite ends of the spectrum.
There's no doubt.
We've got the SEC tournament. Texas A&M all of a sudden has found itself. They're starting to play like the preseason number 1 team. They beat Auburn 3-2. And now Texas is leading Tennessee 4-2. And coming up, it's Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. So tomorrow you've got Ole Miss playing Arkansas at 4 o'clock and Texas A&M playing LSU. Of course, last night Ole Miss beat how about them Gators? 3-1. Ole Miss sends Florida packing last night, 3-1. How about that, Plummer? How about you Gators? Taking one upside between the eyes from Ole Miss. If you're going to kill a Gator, you got to shoot him between the eyes.
No comment at this time. No comment.
There you go. Think about that. But one thing about the SEC tournament, Bergie, I mean, this is like a College World Series weekend. Think about it. A&M and Auburn, Tennessee and Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, LSU in the mix. I mean, that's why the SEC is so highly regarded, because they got so many really good clubs. Southern Conference, we've got Western Carolina leading Mercer 10-3, bottom of the 9th. Wofford and the Citadel to follow. Wofford last night beat Greensboro 4-2 to advance. Sun Belt Tournament, we have got this afternoon Troy defeating Texas State 4-2, and Louisiana knocked off Georgia Southern 5-4. Southern Miss leads Old Dominion 1-0 top of the second, and Coastal Carolina plays Marshall last game of the night, scheduled for an 8:30 start. What's the setup there for Coastal Carolina going into this one?
I'm not sure. I would imagine Jacob Morrison, their ace, will go tonight for the Chanticleers, but I have not seen their starting lineup for tonight. May not matter, as good as they've played this season. I mean, they've won, 15 straight now? I mean, they have just been dominant. They are on a roll, and they will be the one team if they are not a top 8 national seed, which it doesn't look like they're going to be. They're going to be the one team, if they get to a super regional, no one is going to want to have come to their place.
No question.
Not with the pitching they've got. Much like Northeastern, you do not want to see Coastal's pitching staff either.
The big kahuna down in Charleston, Bobby Harton, by the way, good to hear he's back on the air. The knee looks good. He's ready to go run the high hurdles once again. He reminds us, and this is right, that Tom Glavин's brother is the coach at Northeastern. So,
wow,
they know a thing or two about pitching at that program. Thank you, Kahuna. And by the way, you can't hear us in Greenville. Second straight night, they're having some internet issues, and we're delivered via the internet there. They changed over their internet provider. And, of course, whatever they did, it's affecting their ability to pull us in last night and again tonight. So if you can't hear us in Greenville, then you can't hear the reason why we're not on in Greenville.
That's what I was thinking.
If you're not hearing us in Greenville, somebody tell your people in Greenville you can still get us on our streams, on the Chief Sports app, on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and there's all kind of ways to get us. We need to run to the break, and we'll come back in just a moment, continue. John Whittle coming up at the bottom of the hour. Just saw where the first Gamecock has hit the portal, John. That's Ryan Bakes, reserve catcher, played in 31 games in 2 seasons with the Gamecocks. He has announced that Thank you. Yeah, let's give that one more flush just to make sure that it's cleared out the system. Yeah. First one is going down the line, and we'll be right back.
When I grew up, I want to be a nurse. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher.
There's never been a better time to start making their dreams come true. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to save for their future education. Contributions are tax deductible, earnings are tax free, and you can start saving right now with any amount. Go to futurescholar.com today to discover the smart, easy way to save for college. That's futurescholar.com.
Are you in the market for an auto loan? Move now. Get an auto loan from Founders Federal Credit Union now through October 31st, and you'll be entered to win up to $25,000 toward your qualifying auto loan and a $5,000 deposit into your Loyalty Select account. Loyalty Select is our highest yield savings account. Leave it there to grow or transfer it out to spend. And the best part? We'll be choosing monthly winners. So the earlier you get your auto loan, the more chances you have to win. So don't wait. Visit foundersfcu.com/auto to learn more or begin your auto loan application today. Not a Founders member yet? Visit us online or stop by an office to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. We have the financial tools you'll need and the personalized service you deserve. Relax, you're with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
G3 here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and it's time for a fall preview. That's right, 720 Chris Drive, 378 and I-26, Frontage Road, where you can now preview the best technology for golf known to man. It's the Tsunami Bar. It's live weight. It's the only technology out where you get your tempo and flow going before you play. Now, it also serves as a pattern support tool. 720 Chris Drive, Frontage Road, 378 and I-26. You also can visit the Garage Gym Pro Shop. Pick up your tools, take them home, and while you're here, tour the Scramble Course 6-hole pitch and putt right now.
As you can tell, busy night here on Sports Talk. John Whittle coming up after the bottom of the hour break. Let's hit on a couple of other notes, some notes around South Carolina, around the university. Today, the Board of Trustees approved the money for the renovations at Williams-Brice Stadium Phase 2, the bond resolution, about $350 million. Shovels are expected to go into the ground in December, according to Jordan Kay of the state, who was covering this. And he said that Jeremiah Donati, on the conference call with the board, said that South Carolina really wants to upgrade the student section by, in part, adding 2 south end video boards and an air-conditioned space for the students. Yeah, I commend them on the video boards and putting like scoreboards over there, because all the people who sit down that way, the big scoreboard's to their back, and you can't see it if you're right under the scoreboard.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And the artist renditions of it, if they duplicate that in real life, they're going to be a nice addition to the stadium for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. So in time, they'll get that done. USC men's golf team got in a practice round today out in Carlsbad, California. They will tee off tomorrow in the first round of the NCAA men's golf championship, hoping to bring home a trophy from out west. And John Rothstein reported that South Carolina transfer signee Kobe Knox withdrawing from the 25 NBA draft. So he'll be at South Carolina. He was at South Florida, averaged about 11 points per game last year. More notes to come, but John Whittle after the break. Stay tuned for that here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's the forecast. Mostly clear, comfy, a low temp of 61. Tomorrow we cool down a bit, mostly sunshine-filled skies, a few passing clouds, and a 20% chance an afternoon scattered shower. The high reaches 82. For the weekend, 82 on Saturday, a blend of sun and clouds, while on Sunday, mostly cloudy, some afternoon storms possible. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Ron Taylor. The man charged with fatally shooting 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington as they were leaving an event at a Jewish museum told police after his arrest, "I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza." That's according to court documents released today charging Elias Rodriguez, who is 31 years old, with the Wednesday night attack. The document said the shooting was captured on surveillance video outside the museum, which authorities showed Rodriguez firing at the victims several more times even after they fell to the ground. The Trump administration has revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students in its escalating battle with the Ivy League school. It says thousands of current students must transfer to other schools or leave the country. The Department of Homeland Security announced the action Thursday, saying Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment by allowing anti-American pro-terrorist agitators to assault Jewish students on the campus. This is SRN News. I'm Ron Taylor.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from The Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
Hey y'all, it's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We're introducing Friday Night Prime Rib Special. Our great chefs at Flight Deck Restaurant have created a great prime rib dinner special, which includes a 10-ounce slow-roasted certified Angus beef prime rib dinner, served with 2 sides of your choice for only $22.95. And if you mention we love Flight Deck, you get a free cookie or a soft drink with your meal. So come see us at Flight Deck Restaurant to enjoy a delicious slow-roasted prime rib dinner. While you're here, check out the new and improved arcade with over 33 games. We at Flight Deck Restaurant thank you, and God bless.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Now through May 31st, 2025, buy the house now, reset your rate later with Mortgage Reset from Founders Federal Credit Union. Open a new mortgage or refinance an existing mortgage and get the lowest rate you qualify for now. Set up direct deposit and then you can reset your rate once for free at any time rates drop. That's right, at any time during the life of the loan, you can reset your rate to the lowest rate you qualify for at that time at no additional cost. It's that easy. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Find your local mortgage loan officer or to start your application. You can always start your application and save your progress to complete later. Not a member with Founders yet? Don't wait. Visit us online or stop by an office to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender. Institution NMLS. Identifier number 410646.
Do this everywhere we go. I think you know this ain't no one-horse rodeo. I think you know when we pull up, green lights our show. I think you know that we gon' run it till we run it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Talk Media Network. Of course, we should mention tonight you've got Clemson and Texas in their Super Regional NCAA Women's Softball Tournament. So you got Clemson baseball be getting underway in the Clemson-Texas softball game. What time is that game, Bergie? You happen to know?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Very good. Well, we'll see what the Tigers can do. Of course, South Carolina softball kicks off their super against UCLA. So the Gamecock softball team continues to go great. What a turnaround season for them, and what a turnaround season for the baseball team. Unfortunately for the baseball team, it was a turnaround in the wrong direction. I called it the season from hell the other night, the worst season in Gamecock baseball history, and that kind of sums it up. But John Whittle of the Big Spur, you heard us talking about him earlier, heard us mentioning his story earlier. You know all about John. He needs no further introduction, so we welcome him to Sports Talk. And thank you for taking time out. I imagine it's been a very busy day for you. You write a story like that, you're going to get a lot of feedback. And what was it like for you to piece all that together as you went through it? It was informative. It was enlightening, hard-hitting. How do you feel about what you wrote?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Phil. A lot of it's come together, all throughout the season, and not everything, certainly not everything, but I've discussed a lot of it over the course of the season on the Big Spur. So, I mean, there's some things in there that shouldn't take too many folks off guard, at least who are members of the website. But at the same time, when you pile it all together and put it all together like that, I think it had a more significant impact than I would have imagined.
You have covered South Carolina baseball as closely as anybody ever since the Big Spur was created and you joined it. So you've really put a lot of time and effort into covering Gamecock baseball, the good and the bad. So I know that this was a difficult season to cover from the standpoint of just the way the team performed. As you went back and analyzed everything as you were writing this, what are one or two things that really caught your attention where you said to yourself, man, I just can't believe I'm having to write about this. I can't believe that this happened this way?
Well, something that I think needs to be reminded at the beginning was I know I didn't, and I don't think many people out there did expect this team to be like a championship contender. Like I think I went into the year I know I went into the year with the perspective, and think most people did, that this was a team that might get around 500 in SEC play if things go well. I personally had them projected to finish a little bit below 500 in the league, so I wasn't expecting this to be some kind of championship type season and to have a bunch of All-Americans and all SEC players out there. Like I felt like I had a decent perspective going in, but some of the things that really took me off guard was just the lack of practicing and development and just general fundamental work that is standard in college baseball now. And not even now, just historically, like some of the things that they haven't done over the course of the year, from just basic pitcher fielding practice, PFPs, that haven't really been done since the start of the season. I mean, that's basic throughout college baseball and has been forever. And then you look at the rarity of the usage of the TrackMan technologies and bullpens and the biometric pitching lab that they had installed a little over a year ago. Like that thing's just collecting dust. That was such a big thing. Just recently in college baseball these last handful of years, and Wake Forest kind of pioneered it, having the pitching lab with the all the cameras and measuring body movements and force plates and all this stuff. And South Carolina got that technology, and they haven't used it because they just I don't know. I haven't gotten a great reason other than they just don't believe in that. So it's been kind of a failure to, in my opinion, put the players in proper position to be successful.
That's head-scratching. It's head-scratching that, as you reported, some of the things that they did not practice, the little things like, well, I say little, but you think they're little things like how a pitcher comes off the mound to cover a play and things like that, just did not practice. That's head-scratching as to why. Like to know a reason for that. It also, of course, sounds like from some of the things that you wrote that they lost the clubhouse during the season, and there was a disconnect between head coach and players, not maybe every player, but some players, maybe most players. I know Nathan Hall in the press conference after the loss the other night spoke very positively. But then again, we saw Roman Kimball's dad put out a blistering message the other night about things there. So what is your feeling about that from what you know and from what you wrote? Was there a disconnect between Coach Mainieri and the majority of the players in the clubhouse?
Yeah, and it grew over time, over the course of the season. I think that the coaching staff, as time went on, figured that they didn't have good enough players to be as successful as they wanted to, and over time there was more blame internally, and I wrote about it back after the Tennessee series that Mainieri was saying some things that are very out of pocket for a head coach publicly about players as individuals and the team as a group, and that certainly sowed some seeds of resentment over the course of the year, and kind of built that disconnect between the sides, and it just grew over the course of the year. After the Kentucky series, after they flew back, Mainieri had a meeting with the team in the locker room, and basically more or less said, this team isn't good enough. We're going into the portal this off season, and we're getting a bunch of guys who can throw hard and hit the ball far, and not so many more words, basically said, we're getting a new team. And it's that kind of what was the series after Kentucky, Phil? That was the Florida series when they lost 22-3 and lost 8-0. The next weekend was the Auburn series, which wasn't any better than that. It was kind of it showed kind of a big turn in how things went.
John Whittle, the Big Spur, with us here tonight on Sports Talk, wrote a brilliant piece on the website behind the scenes of South Carolina baseball season. And John, to me, the article paints a picture of basically incompetence within the coaching staff over at USC, and I don't think you can overlook some of the things you pointed out. I wanted to start, though, with the Eddie Copper situation, where they basically, according to you and your sources, ignored his rehab schedule. Not only, to me, should the doctor have the final say on when a player comes back out there, or the athletic trainer. I mean, you're getting into a situation where they might be facing a lawsuit, perhaps, because they could have hurt potential NIL money on down the line for Eddie Copper.
Yeah, I mean, I think lesser people would probably look to that. I don't know, and I'm not speaking for the Copper family. Certainly, I haven't heard anything along those lines in terms of potential legal action or things like that. But yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And to be honest with you, I wrote about that on the Big Spur on April 17th, and it certainly received a lot of traction, but you add that in with everything else that's gone on, it certainly magnifies that situation. But Eddie Copper is he's not somebody with helicopter parents who's not tough. Like, I mean, he's from Pennsylvania. He came down here and to play academy baseball his senior year of high school. He opted for a lesser surgery, had the Tommy John brace surgery instead of the full Tommy John, so he could try to get back in time to pitch for this team this year. And not only did they mishandle him, I mean, Mainieri threw him under the bus, and kind of questioned his loyalty to the program, and questioned his dedication as a teammate and a player. And that, to me, that's just not right.
John, how do you leave, perhaps, and this is, like being the best ice hockey player in South America, it's a fairly easy goal, but, I mean, how do you leave the best pitcher in Brandon Stone off the roster when you go to Texas A&M, especially now looking back on a game that they should have won regardless, but certainly could have used him in that 12-2 game that they blew in the latter innings?
I mean, I wish I could answer that question for you, and I won't say it's unheard of. Liberty had a situation earlier this year where they had left the guy off of their roster and actually put the guy in the game. Sometimes oversights happen, but again, it's just another one of those things that they keep adding up. But kind of the more damning thing on that is the week before, when they were at Mississippi State, Chris Lamonis called out the Gamecocks and took the lineup card up there, and Brendan Sweeney's last name was spelled wrong. It was spelled Sweeney as in like Dabo, when Brendan Sweeney was Sweeney. And Lamonis took the lineup card to the umpire and said, "Hey, I don't have a Sweeney on the roster." And the umpire obviously used some common sense and said, "Hey, Chris, you use some common sense too." But at the same time, it's something that, as a head coach, you need to be aware of. And, a week after, having that mistake in Starkville, I mean, you have a even worse mistake the next week in College Station. So, it all adds together.
John Whittle, the Big Spur, with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And, John, I know you didn't write this with sort of an end goal in mind, but now that this story is out there and you've compiled all this different stuff throughout the season from beginning, going back into the fall where strength and conditioning wasn't as sort of prevalent as it is normally at any other college baseball program through the end of the season, what do you think Jeremiah Donati's reaction is going to be to this? And do you think he might have a change of heart with the way he's publicly come out and said he's behind Pulmonary?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that Jeremiah Donati would have a good sense of what's going on over there. Once the season kind of comes to a conclusion, and that athletics director's job is not to know every breath a player takes throughout the course of the season. That's just not the function of the AD. But when the season's coming to a close, especially one as trying as this one is, I would expect the athletic director to do a deeper dive and figure out what's going on and get a pulse of the program from the players and get a pulse of the program from the staff and talk to the constituents around there and be sure he understands everything that's going on. Now, how much he's done and what he does with all the information that he has, I don't know. I know that I'm not aware of anything that Jeremiah Donati has come out and said publicly recently about backing Donati. I know there have been some, source talk about, Mainieri being back and so forth, and that's what I understand too, coming out of the SEC tournament. Now, if this changes things, I don't know. That certainly was not the end goal, but it was the end goal was to make folks aware and understand why some of the things that have gone wrong. But we'll see how it all kind of plays out. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know of Jeremiah Donati making any public comments here in the last couple of weeks that say, yeah, he's definitely going to be back.
John Whittle with us, couple more minutes. Appreciate the time, John, because you had this story and you had the story up about renovations at Williams-Brice Stadium, so you've been a very busy guy here this afternoon. So we see Ryan Bakes going into the transfer portal, John. You are, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you expecting mass exodus of eligible players to return to South Carolina? Are you expecting mass exodus? And do you have a feel on who I think are the two prized players who could return, Scobie at third base and Hollins at first base? Do you have a feel on what those guys might be thinking?
Well, it's a great question, Phil, and I'll say that there's been a lot of chatter about a lot of folks going into the portal. I've always kind of taken especially when it comes to baseball, but I've always kind of taken I'll believe it when I see it approach. I do think there's going to be a large number of players going into the portal. I don't know that it's going to be as many as some folks out there are speculating. And another thing that factors into this is everybody is very well aware. You have NIL and revenue sharing dollars that come into play now, and South Carolina, as I understand it, is going to have a significant amount of money for this baseball program for next year to try to rebuild back the program very quickly by getting and keeping talent. And there may be folks who plan to go to the portal who get an offer they can't refuse, so to speak. So we'll see how all of that comes together and comes to pass. For those who are on Twitter and social media and chat rooms and wherever who've been reading about a mass exodus and only a handful of players want to come back, I would caution that I'm not quite certain that that's going to be true. I do think there's going to be some impactful players to go. I know that freshmen met with Coach Maneri yesterday, and I believe most of those guys have, at least for now, expressed the intention to return. I would be very surprised if Bo Hollins were to leave for various reasons. I mean, he's a Gamecock, at the end of the day, and there's some people who have tremendous affection for the program, beyond the head coach. So we'll see exactly how it kind of plays out. I don't think the number is going to be quite as huge as folks imagine, but I think there's going to be some significant folks who go in, and not a small number. There's going to be guys they want to hold on to that they're not able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Last thing, we'll let you go. So if some of these guys do come back, of course that means they're going to be bringing in a whole bunch of new guys. But with the returning fellows and with the fan base, can he rebuild? Can he remend the fence between himself and those players returning, and with the fan base? Many, of course, you hear from those who are most upset, and they're outspoken on the message boards and the radio shows. You hear from them, and of course, I get it, you get it. Win ball games and everything will be forgotten, and the love will return. But I mean, they're in such a deep hole. Is it as simple as that for him? Put a roster together for next season in 26 that can win some games and all will be forgiven?
Yeah, that's another great question, and I don't know that I have a great answer. It's going to be a challenge to put together that roster, but as I wrote in there, winning cures everything. If there were more wins that went along with some of these other things that have gone on, some of these other things are probably very much overlooked. So, if you come out and start winning next year, then, it's certainly going to be a much more enjoyable experience for everybody. So, I do think that, I do think that there's probably a path to getting everybody back on the same page. I do think it's going to be a challenge. I don't know that, anytime a team struggles that badly, attendance suffers and fan engagement deteriorates. It's gonna be hard to win some folks back before the season starts. But then you start winning, especially if you can win that third weekend of the season when you're playing the Tigers. That brings people back into the seats immediately. But that's all to be determined. It's all to be determined. As Lamont Paris found out, this past off season, when you struggle like that, it becomes harder to get players. And, South Carolina is going to need a lot of players, this off season, and we'll have to see how it comes together from a recruiting standpoint. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, I think, for those guys.
Yeah, the Clemson series, I said this, I think, last night. I think the Clemson series is going to be huge for next year. You're going to be facing Aiden Canuck in that first game in all likelihood. And, for South Carolina, the fans you'll win those early games because you'll be playing some lightweights. They want to see you beat Clemson and then go from there. I'll say this and we'll let you go. I even in the worst days under Chad Holbrook or Mark Kingston, I never saw the apathy around Gamecock baseball by the fan base that we saw the latter half of this season. I mean, it was, practically nobody at the ball games, and they were playing some great opponents. Ordinarily you'd have, 7,000 in the stands, but it was far from that. So they got a lot of work to do there. John, we thank you. Great reporting. Insightful information. If you're not a member of the Big Spur, you're a Gamecock fan, I suggest you sign up tonight. Read that story and stay with John and his crew. They do a fantastic job. You can see John and part of that crew as well on the Chief Sports app on their shows there. So, John, we thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, John.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me.
As always, my friend, take care. John Whittle from the Big Spur. Glad to have him with us.
Indeed.
So,
really good stuff.
If if you get the right people back, and they're not really harsh feelings there, and you can get those key players who can't come back to come back, and then you bring in enough good players to put together a better lineup, and do some things better. I can't believe still some of the lack of practice things that they did not do. We'll be right back.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
The lottery is not about getting rich. It's about helping people, and it always has been. The lottery is what helped raise the Great Wall of China, build the roads of Rome, and today in South Carolina, it's what generates millions of dollars each year for scholarships like the SC Hope, Life, and Palmetto Fellows. The South Carolina Education Lottery is investing in you. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou to learn more.
All right, thanks again to John Whittle for joining us here on Sports Talk. Let me hit you up with a couple of other interesting stories, top stories, locally, nationally. BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff is being accused of raping and strangling a woman in a civil lawsuit.
Oh, boy.
Filing says that Provo police discouraged the woman from proceeding with an investigation. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Investigating the investigators. That's going to be a lot of fun. Dawn Staley today made her first comments on Malaysia Fulwiley's transfer to LSU. She was on a radio show called The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, and he asked about Fulwiley's decision to transfer, and she said she wasn't surprised. Still has much love for Malaysia, much love. Said she wants her happy. That was the gist of her comment. She just wants her to be happy. Feels like they developed her, and LSU's getting a more refined player than what she had when she first came to South Carolina. Still think she's a great player, promising career, is going to do great things. Doesn't sound like she has any animosity or any axe to grind with her. She just knows when the teams meet, it's going to be one heck of a matchup for Fulwiley against whoever South Carolina puts against her.
Not saying this is the case with Coach Staley, and I respect her opinion on this, but my guess is if we weren't in a situation where Fulwiley could transfer right back to South Carolina next year, you'd probably hear a little more honest answer. And again, I don't know that but yeah, coaches have to say this now, don't they, Phil? I mean, you can't go and throw these kids under the bus because you may want them back next year when they transfer for a third or fourth time.
Hadn't thought about that. The old flop back. The old flop back transfer. Okay, Mike Morgan is coming up after the top of the hour break.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Ron Taylor. The man accused of fatally shooting 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington as they left an event at a Jewish museum last night told police after his arrest, "I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza," quote unquote. 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez shouted "Free Palestine" as he was led away after his arrest and told police that he was the one who did it, according to charging documents that provided chilling new details of the Wednesday night attack that killed an American woman and an Israeli man who were said to be engaged. In an interview with Sky News, Jojo Drake Kalin, the organizer of the annual Young Diplomats reception, says she didn't realize that it was the actual shooter that she was trying to help inside the building.
The event was wrapping up. It was her impression that he was a victim and an innocent bystander to this attack. And being the well-meaning group that we are, we all thought that was the case. And I actually gave him water, unbeknownst to me, that I was looking evil in the eye.
President Trump is celebrating House passage of a bill that contains his top priorities. More from White House correspondent Greg Clugston.
The president calls it arguably the most significant piece of legislation in American history. It includes his campaign promises, including no taxes on tip income or overtime income. It's projected the massive bill will add trillions of dollars to the nation's debt. Writing on social media, the president praises House Speaker Mike Johnson and Republican leadership for getting his major tax bill passed. It now goes to the Senate, and he's urging lawmakers there to send it to his desk as soon as possible. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Trump administration has revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll international students in its escalating battle with the Ivy League school. It says thousands of current students must transfer to other schools or leave the country. The Department of Homeland Security announcing the action today, saying Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment. More news at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Guards at the CIA headquarters in Virginia fired gunshots at a woman who crashed into the security gates at the campus early this morning.
It's being described as a security incident. Local police say the shooting was non-fatal and that the 27-year-old woman is being treated for her injuries. The incident took place just outside the nation's capital. Authorities are investigating whether the woman may have been intoxicated at the time. The CIA has declined to respond about additional details. George Williams, Washington.
A new government-issued report reflects some of the most controversial views on vaccines, the nation's food supply, pesticides, and prescription drugs, held by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. The much-anticipated Make America Healthy Again report, led by Kennedy and other top Trump administration officials, was released early today. It calls for increased scrutiny of the childhood vaccine schedule, a review of pesticides, and describes the nation's children as over-medicated. Breaking news at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear, comfy, a low temp of 61. Tomorrow we cool down a bit, mostly sunshine-filled skies. A few passing clouds and, a 20% chance an afternoon scattered shower. The high reaches 82. For the weekend, 82 on Saturday, a blend of sun and clouds. While on Sunday, mostly cloudy, some afternoon storms possible. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back. It is Sports Talk Media Network. Big Thursday night. We come to you from our Atlanta studios tonight. We have, of course, Chris Bergen from the Berge Palace in Sardis. We have the plumber, Josh Cohen, at our studios in Columbia. By the way, not but a few seconds or moments after I mentioned in the first half hour that we were out in Greenville, down in Greenville because of internet issues, they got it fixed and let me know. Big John Landrum let me know that everything was back up and working, so we've been on in Greenville for the most part. So hello, folks in Greenville. Good to have you back with us after they changed over some internet stuff and able to get us back up and running there in the beautiful city of Greenville. One other quick note before we get to Mike Morgan and Morgan on the Move. Former North Carolina coach Mack Brown had something interesting to say today in talking about his departure from North Carolina. He said on a radio show on XM that North Carolina has lowered academic standards since hiring Bill Belichick. You like that, huh?
He said that with a straight face.
This, of course, the school that handed out diplomas at one time and had classes that didn't require any work and just put the grades on the report card for you, et cetera, et cetera.
How much lower can your standards be?
I don't know. I did find that comment kind of shocking, to be quite honest with you. So with that, let's welcome in a man with multiple diplomas, as far as I know, starting way back at Boca Raton Elementary School and finishing up at West Palm Beach High, I think, or someplace like that. He is the one and the only Mike Morgan. Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Harbison. Chris Mosley runs the best sporting goods shop in the Palmetto State with all the things you'll want to buy, sell, or trade. Best selection, best prices, and a great friendly staff. That's Play It Again Sports in Columbia.
Brought to you by Love Chevy, where the inventory is overflowing and the deals are in full bloom. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
And joining us now, proud graduate of Boca Raton Junior High, he is Mike Morgan. On the Move. Welcome in, sir.
None of that is exactly accurate, but that's okay. I like the story, and we'll go along with that for various reasons. But I do have some ties to the area, and many corn blutes have visited many delis in that area. It's very, very kind to the corn blute clan. But I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Accuracy was really not my goal in making those statements. So.
If it's today's media, accuracy doesn't really matter anyway. You just kind of make up your own story, and we've learned that. My goodness, journalism has never been deader. That is for damn sure.
Unless you're a horse named Journalism did okay last week.
That's right. He went. Well, that was the favorite, right? He was. It's seldom that the favorite wins, right? But he won easily.
He did.
Or not easily,
the way he did
won.
it, man, he split two horses like in half. He just ran right between two horses, pushed one of them. Oh, it was awesome, man. It was Secretariat-like. Okay, John Whittle was just with us talking about Gamecock baseball, of course, as we put the Gamecock baseball season to bed. Yeah, not a pretty story, and he didn't have a pretty story to tell. And so what do you think Palmineri has got to do to get this team to and I think next year, I mean, just having a winning record is not going to cut it. They got to get to the tournament next year.
Yeah, gosh. You know, I'm on the ITG program. I know you hate when I plug things, but I think this time it's semi-relevant.
No, we plugged it. We plugged it quite a bit. We mentioned the whole thing.
Well, that's true. We're all part of the Chief Sports Network.
That's right.
Great episode of JC and Morgan dropped today for a little college football talk.
By the way, I wanted to mention that. I was looking at your screenshot of that, and I noticed that your background. Are you trying to present that you're the middle pilot of three in the cockpit from the movie
Airplane.
From the movie, and you got Kareem on one side, and
that's right,
Captain Unger,
and Roger Murdoch and Captain Unger. What's your Roger? What's your Victor? Yes. Some people with a sense of humor will catch that and will appreciate that. I thank you for that. That was that was the backdrop. Today on JC and Morgan, the backdrop is. My wife and I went to Boston a couple of years ago. We actually saw Yankees-Red Sox.
Yeah.
Alex Cora ran out and he ignored a bunch of fans at the restaurant right behind the Monster where you can see the field, and there's a little like cage separating you. And all these fans, as we were eating our lunch, were trying to get the Red Sox attention while they're warming up. Well, they just ignore the people. They're doing their thing. I respect that. And Alex Cora got a look at Mrs. Morgan and did a beeline right over there and took a selfie with her. And I'm like, my goodness,
whoa!
It's just life is just it's a different perspective when you're a pretty woman versus just a regular dude like me. Yep. He wasn't going to give me the time of day. But we were there, and we took the tour of the actual Cheers. And we have a picture of me, my wife, at the bar with a cardboard cutout of now the late George Wendt in the middle. And I forgot I even had that picture. And then when he died, I was like, I got to find that thing. So that was the backdrop in honor of Norm. We all love Norm. Mm-hmm. We all love Cheers. But the other thing I was going to say about the Inside the Gamecock show, I'm on every Monday with Jamie. And John Whittle goes on every Monday. And I've known John indirectly for a while, just covering events. We don't hang out socially, but I've always thought John does a really good job. It's very out of his character to just completely go all in, scorched earth on a coach. But you could see this building up. He's very close to the program, and he talks to a lot of people. And it was I could see this kind of percolating, and eventually, like a volcano, it was going to erupt. And certainly the article, which you and some other people have shared with me throughout the course of the day, he did not hold back any punches, right? He pretty much let it go. But one of the things that we've talked about, because everybody, I think, it's not just about 1 year under Mainieri. It's a how do you go from back-to-back titles, from 6 Omahas in a span of about a dozen years, multiple SEC championships in that time frame. I mean, I was around for 10 years, Phil. I didn't know what a season looked like without making it to a regional. And more often than not, it was a super regional, and multiple times it was Omaha. So I never saw Gamecock baseball not make the tournament when I was behind the microphone because the program was just so good. And then obviously that peaked. The pinnacle was the 2 titles and 3 more straight Omahas. And at that point, if you were following Gamecock baseball as a media member like John or just a fan, you probably assumed that, you're not going to make it to Omaha every year, but you're certainly going to be in contention more times than not, and the postseason is almost like an automatic. So then I did a deep dive on the last couple of coaches, in Chad and King, and they both had some success. They each went to 2 super regionals, but they each missed the tournament twice. Now, at some programs, that's not a huge deal. Your roster turns over a lot in baseball. You miss a tournament, you come back the next year, you make it, so what? But I just believe where this program is and what the fans expect and the big money people that have a real say in everything. If you miss the tournament more than once in like a 5-6 year span, you're out of a job at South Carolina. That's what the recent history tells you. And maybe if you go to Omaha twice and then you miss it 2 times in 5 years, then maybe you still got a job. But for the most part, that's not going to get it done. So that's a long way of answering or trying to address your question, which is I don't think the fan base has an appetite for any coach missing the tournament 2 years in a row, whether it's Paul Mainieri, whether it's Sid Farkas, David Putty, or every other Seinfeld name I can think of off the top of my head. Kenny Banya. The bottom line is the expectations are so high. The only thing I've tried to point out, and I hate this, where just like in politics, we have become a nation of prisoner of two ideas. I have to think completely one way, or I have to feel completely another. There's no nuance. There's no middle ground. To me, there's this tug of war between, okay, well, it's got to be either 100% the coach's fault or 100% the players are no good. Mm-hmm. And I think there's definitely some middle ground here. You don't have a last place finish like this where everybody isn't culpable, because they are. But I will say this, and there's some talent on this team, and I'm sure John highlighted that for you just as he has for us every Monday. And has pointed out there's some good players, and there's going to be some guys in the portal that are coveted by other schools, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say, to be fair to the story as a whole, they were picked 14th by the coaches. They were picked 15th by most of the power rankings I saw. And none of that was based on, well, it's a really talented team, but Paul Mainieri and his staff just can't coach worth a damn. They looked at the returning talent and the influx of incoming talent, and they sized it up like I do every year with the rest of the SEC, and they looked at it and they said, this is a team that's going to be around last place. And that's what it was. Did I think it was going to be a 6-win SEC team? No. They clearly spiraled out of control, and then it felt like it got to the point where as a new coaching staff, and I've seen this happen at other places, you realize you have a team, for whatever reasons, is not going to go far, and you start thinking about the future. You start thinking about, okay, who is actually going to be with me next year, and what can I look at? I think there was a lot of that going on. What I don't know, and what John is much more privy to than I am, I'm not that close to one particular program anymore. The toxicity that was within, clearly, there's a lot of people that have seen that and reported on that, and that's something that obviously will be addressed in the off season as well. But I think if Gamecock baseball is going to return, it has to be more than just Chad Holbrook, Mark Kingston, and now a Hall of Fame coach of Paul Mainieri don't know what they're doing. Some of it has to be they're going to need to get an influx of talent, because here's what's happened, Phil. Since those World Series that I've referenced, the entire league has gotten infinitely better, and I'm not sure if South Carolina has.
Yeah. The thing that's just so head-scratching to me, Mike, talking to Mike Morgan, the reporting by John on the things like not practicing certain fundamental things for an extended period of time, and that showing up in the play of the team, and then the handling of the Eddie Copper situation and the handling of the Brandon Stone situation. I think Chris said it properly earlier. Incompetence in a lot of ways that you wouldn't expect from a Hall of Fame coach who's won 1,500 games. And it was sort of like, maybe you hit on it. He realized this team didn't have the talent. It wasn't going to go anywhere. Maybe he didn't put his best effort into it. I don't know. Maybe he didn't put his best effort into it.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. Only the coaching staff knows that. I just know at times when a coach is new on the job and he inherits what he inherits, and he realizes, okay, if I'm going to build this thing to what I think it needs to be and what it can be, I've got to figure out who my guys are, and then there's two ways you can handle it. With the other guys, you can be cordial and you can be somewhat supportive, or if the reporting is accurate and John does an outstanding job, then obviously there's other ways to handle it too. I just know this much. At the end of the day, I never thought there was going to be a coaching change after 1 year. Now, staff changes. I mean, if you're the athletic director, you can always demand it's like in football. If you've got a coordinator that's not performing, and you're a head coach that is coming off a bad year, the AD can go to the coach and say, look, I'm not going to fire you, but you're going to have to make some changes. That happens all the time in football. In baseball, maybe not as much. It's not as fragmented, but I just know that when you look at the season as a whole, you could tell early on it was not going in a positive direction, and then those things spiral out of control quickly. They just do sometimes, and it's going to be a fascinating off season because there's going to be the portal. June 2nd?
Yep.
And then, okay, so there's going to be attrition. Well, there's attrition everywhere, but is it going to be to the point where you have no base of returning talent? I know some people believe that's the case. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not in the heads. I'm not talking to the players every day. I'm not talking to the families every day. And then the question, the part two to that is obviously, well, what do you bring in? Is this going to be a top-rated portal class? Are there going to be guys that are just? I mean, one thing that stands out to me, Phil, I don't look at the rotation and see what I would consider a lot of Friday, Saturday night type guys that I see around the marquee programs in the SEC. Now, why is that? I mean, why wouldn't South Carolina be able to recruit the same guys that Tennessee is now getting, Auburn is now getting, Florida and LSU and Arkansas always get, Texas and Texas A&M always get? Why would South Carolina not be able to attract that type of player? And here's, again, what I hate. Don't take that as, well, they don't have any talent. Nobody is saying that. Everything to me is relative to your competition. And if you go 1 through 16 in the SEC, this is not a top 10 roster. It wasn't going into the season, and it's clearly not going out. So how is the recruiting and the portal, which is now more important than ever in baseball, like every other sport, how is it going to be to a higher level where you can compete for higher stakes?
Those are excellent questions. Don't have the answer, but I think South Carolina, according to John, they're going to put the money into the portal, John, and see what they can attract. Apparently, as he put it, they're going to have like more money than that was expected for the baseball program. You know, most of the money was thought to be going to football, and then a portion to basketball. In South Carolina, you got to give some to women's basketball. But apparently, according to his reporting, they're going to have more money for baseball than was, I guess, originally expected. So that's a good thing. And if that's what it takes today to have a winning program, just flat out buying the hearts of players, if that's the most important thing is what kind of contractual deal, it's a transactional world we live in now, then by all means put the money out there and see who you can attract. We got about 90 seconds with you. Wanted to get your thoughts on the SEC tournament before we leave you, and just the way things have been developing there as we go through the days in Hoover. And I know we had Texas and Tennessee playing in a big one here this afternoon. That was the last game I was checking on there. So your thoughts on what you've seen in the SEC tournament? We got about 90 seconds.
Well, I haven't watched a ton of it, to be honest with you. I think the storylines going into it every year now have been reduced to, is there a bubble team? I mean, A&M had to make a run if they had any chance. They didn't, so they're done, which for a preseason number one, and they had a first-year head coach as well. They turned out to be, if not the most disappointing team in college baseball nationally. And then who gets to host? You had a couple teams on the bubble, like a Florida and Ole Miss. But for the most part, much of the hay is already in the barn, right?
Let me jump in and say something real quick. A&M is still in it.
I'm sorry. Well, okay. So they've won.
Yeah, A&M beat Auburn this morning, 3-2. So they play LSU tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, they still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
They needed to go in there. I mean, they might have to win the whole thing. Yeah. I guess it depends on how, there's so many other what they call bid stealers in potentially in other leagues. But I don't think A&M, unless they make an incredible run, and I don't see anybody winning that thing, basically win 5 games in 6 days. I just don't see that happening. But maybe I'm wrong. If I am, then good for A&M. That'd be a hell of a story. But those are the stories that I look at in the SEC tournament as a whole. The rest of it is, I mean, these teams that have already clinched quality things, they're looking forward to where the real season is defined, and that is the postseason. How you do in your regionals and in your super regionals, and if you get to Omaha, that's what everybody's going to remember. If you look back at some of the Gamecock teams that were the most successful, they didn't have great, tournaments in Hoover, but it didn't really matter in the end.
Yep, you're right. Mike, thank you so much. Great hearing from you. Great seeing you today. Thank you for the delicious
Appreciate
lunch that you did not pay for. And we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. By the way, Chris, Joshua, to watch Kornblue scrape up the sauce of burritos and tacos, licking the plate, using his hands to take grounded taco meat and make his own taco with his fingers. You've never seen anything more repulsive. I'll try to get you a YouTube video.
No comments.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there. If you're looking to grow your business, Sports Talk is here to help. Whether you're a small business owner or part of a large company in the Palmetto State, we want to hear about what you do. Sports Talk has a proven track record of delivering real results to our partners, and advertising with us is probably more affordable than you think. Our network of affiliates gives us the flexibility to work with budgets of all sizes, and our statewide coverage means that whether you're in Greenville, Orangeburg, Chesterfield, Charleston, Woodruff, or anywhere in between, your future customers are listening to Sports Talk every night. Radio remains one of the most effective ways to reach potential customers, and with our extensive reach across South Carolina, your message will be heard. Every business has a story, and we're here to help share yours. Let's find success together. Email us at sportstalkmedianetwork@gmail.com or visit sportstalksc.com to learn more about how we can help grow your business.
Thanks again to Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move with us here on Sports Talk. We'll have Smitty coming up after the bottom of the hour with an update from Durham, Clemson, and NC State playing in the ACC tournament. Early on, they are scoreless at the top of the second.
Actually, 1-0 Clemson going to the bottom of the second. Sack
That's
fly
an
for
update.
Jacob Jarrell. There you go.
That's an update right there. That's an update. 1-0 Clemson going to the bottom of the second. Got a good one going on in Hoover. Tennessee and Texas, they're in the bottom of the 10th. Texas had a lead here. Tennessee's come back to take the lead, 5-4. Now Texas has a runner on third with nobody out, so probably going to tie this thing up, maybe even win it or send it to another inning. After the break, we will get an update from Smitty from the ACC tournament. We've got recruiting coming up as well for you here on Sports Talk. And Tim Whipple, who's going into the National High School Coaches Hall of Fame, is going to join us too. We'll be back right here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Mostly clear, comfy, a low temp of 61. Tomorrow we cool down a bit, mostly sunshine-filled skies. A few passing clouds and, a 20% chance an afternoon scattered shower. The high reaches 82. For the weekend, 82 on Saturday, a blend of sun and clouds, while on Sunday, mostly cloudy, some afternoon storms possible. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Tradition and quality. That's what you get with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle. Again, HandJCattle.com, where ethics meets quality.
With SRN News, I'm Ron Taylor. Yaron Zlitsky and Sarah Milgram were colleagues, and they were a couple, days away from a marriage proposal. But their interwoven lives were brutally cut short Wednesday evening when the two Israeli embassy staffers were shot while leaving a couple of the young diplomat's reception at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington. Milgram was an American from Kansas. 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez was charged today with the Wednesday night attack. The documents say the shooting was captured on surveillance video outside the museum, and authorities say the footage showed him firing the victim several times after they fell to the ground. The music agency Sound Talent Group said today that 3 of its employees died on the private plane that crashed into a San Diego neighborhood. The talent group says the dead include Dave Shapiro, the agency's co-founder and listed as the owner of the plane and has a pilot's license. The group represents artists like Hanson, Sum 41, and Vanessa Carlton, and others. This is SRN News. I'm Ron Taylor reporting.
Hey, it's Kev. I'm hanging out with Ken, the owner of Broker Solar, a local company. Now, Ken, I know you have some solar pet peeves. These national guys, they're just not very honest.
One of the common myths in the solar industry is that you can get solar for free or some kind of government-paid solar, and that's simply not the truth. What you can get is a solid investment that has tax credits that will pay you back for years to come. That's one of the things that we promote at Broker Solar is proper education in what solar is and how you can take advantage of the incentives that are out there, local and federal.
Tell me more about these tax credits.
There's currently a huge federal tax credit that gets you 1/3 of the system cost back. And on top of that, the state of South Carolina, we're lucky enough to have an extra 25% of that solar system cost come back to you in the form of tax credits, totaling for a 55% discount on your solar system back in tax credits.
Call Broker Solar. Call them now, 803-807-7417 or online, brokersolar.com.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Hey, honey, did you hear that Walgreens is closing right around the corner?
Yes, Sue used to get her meds there. I told her she has to try Triangle Pharmacy now.
They've always been good to us. Plus, we never have to wait around in long lines, and they deliver.
It was so easy when we transferred last year. All we did was call, and Robbie and Isha took care of everything.
With all these chain stores closing, I'm so glad that we have a reliable local pharmacy. Triangle Pharmacy, still local since 1953. Come see us at 1239 D Avenue or visit trianglepharmacysc.com for more info.
If you need to hire, it seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today, talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Okay, we have Coach Tim Whipple coming up in just a moment. Let's run back out to Durham. Matt Smith is there watching Clemson, NC State. ACC baseball tournament action. Smitty, what you got?
Well, Clemson has taken a 1-0 lead. Dominic Listy singled and then advanced to second on a wild pitch, stole third, and it was one of those situations where the ball beat him, but he got in under the tag, and it was upheld under review. A fly ball to right center field off the bat of Jacob Jarrell chases Listy home, so Clemson is up 1-0. They get a double play to close out the second inning, so Titsworth has looked really solid early. We're heading to the top of the third, and it was a really good interview with Mike Morgan. You should tell him that Alex Cora was a 243 career hitter. No 240 hitter is taking Mrs. Morgan away from Mike
Morgan. Be careful. He might get Belichicked out there by somebody, You just got to be careful when you got those hot blondes for wives. You know what I mean? All right, thank you, Smitty. Appreciate it. We'll get back to you before we sign off tonight. We
Tell
love
me Smitty
having
is not a seam head. He knows the career batting average of Alex Cora just off the top of his head.
We always love having coaches on our program who've accomplished great things in their coaching careers here in South Carolina. One of those, Tim Whipple, longtime high school basketball coach at Irmo High School. He's won a lot of state championships. He's won a lot of other awards. And it was announced last night that he had been selected for the National High School Athletic Coaches Association National Hall of Fame. I don't know that you go any higher than that. We have Coach Whipple on with us. Welcome and congratulations. How do you feel about getting this particular honor?
Well, it's pretty special. There's no doubt about it. I kind of a surprise, but I don't think you don't ever expect things like this to happen when you start coaching, So it's certainly a special honor.
Well, let's go back, start coaching. Let's go back to your playing days at Erskine under Red Myers, and you played for one of the greatest coaches ever in our states. And, boy, could you even think back then where your career might go?
Oh, heck no. I at that point in time, I certainly wanted to coach, but I didn't know if I could or not. I was just worried about whether I was going to be able to survive a practice back then. Coach Myers certainly ran a tight ship.
How tough were they? What kind of things did he put you through?
Oh, it was. We don't have enough time to go into it. He was an expert at torture. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I got a little dose of that because, my little paltry high school career, but my head coach played for him at Erskine, so we got some of the same treatment from that standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think from a player standpoint, see, you kind of sometimes when you're coaching, you learn what you didn't like as a player. so you make sure either you do or don't do that when you're coaching.
Why did Irmo High School turn out to be such a great fit for you?
I think that's a really easy one there because it exactly when in the 80s when I started, it was a bunch of kids that were hungry, that wanted to work, that were willing to make sacrifices, willing to do things the right way. And I was a taskmaster, and I really pushed them hard. And then the key was we had the parents to back me up, and that's so important because a lot of times if you don't have that, then the kids, aren't going to do the things that they need to. But when they went home and they were complaining about whatever it was or how hard they worked, their parents said, well, you need to be doing it. So it was just perfect. Our personalities fit. And then I changed over the years, and that was good too because the players started changing. But it was a perfect fit.
You had to adjust. Talking with Tim Whipple, was there ever a time? I'd have to go back and look at your records. Were you a hit from the beginning at Irmo? Or did you struggle any early on? And was there ever a time where you thought, maybe I need to go sell insurance or something?
Well, that was never going to be the case. I wasn't going to do that. We started pretty quickly because I really had a pretty solid nucleus to start off with. And then after about 4 or 5 years, we had a few years that weren't great, but then everything really came together. A lot of talented coaches working with me and some really talented players that came along in the late 80s and early 90s that really propelled us. It was a pretty special thing there at Irmo during that time. And then it continued on, but not quite what it was like then.
So when I think about all the terrific players that you had come through there, I mean, I think about maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe like a guy like Marvin Orange. Did it kind of start with him, where you took it to that highest level, or were you already kind of there? Where was the starting point to where you took it to that highest level?
It was probably Pat Marshall. He was the one that started. He ended up playing at Furman and had a great career there. He was the one that really got everything started. But now Marvin was right there on his heels, and then BJ was right on Marvin's heels. So I was pretty fortunate. I mean, I had a major college point guard for 7 straight years in BJ and Marvin. And then Pat was a really special player.
Yeah.
Right before them.
Yeah.
Former Irmo High School head varsity boys basketball coach Tim Whipple with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And, Coach, you won another state championship of your multitude of state titles back in 2023, and you said afterwards that was the most special group that you have had. Considering all the talented teams that you had throughout your career, why was that one most special to you?
Well, I think it, well, obviously, the other teams that we had, especially after we really started getting things going, it wasn't that we expected to win state championships, because you have to be really lucky as well as good. But we didn't. We expected it a little bit more than this year. That team, the 23 team, we had some injuries, we had some sickness, we struggled. We lost 3 straight home games at one time, which I don't think we've ever done. And it just was, we put everything together at the right time, and things just fit so perfectly. And from a coaching standpoint, it was a perfect year. It was a perfect process for kids to understand what it meant to do things the right way and then be rewarded for that. And it just, when we sat there in that state championship game and against a very good Lancaster team, was, just totally dominated the game. It just was one of the most pleasurable things I've ever sat through on a bench. And that's over 1,000 games.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games.
There's no doubt. And, Coach, you won a lot of games, as did John Smith of Great Falls. If we're talking about the greatest coaches in South Carolina high school history, it starts with you two. Did you have much of a relationship with him, considering he coached at a much smaller school throughout his career?
Yeah, I actually, my second year in coaching, I was at Winsboro High School with Eddie Raines. And it is now Fairfield Central, but it was Winsboro back then. And Eddie and John were really close friends, and Winsboro played Great Falls. So I was able to meet him then, and then over the years, we would talk at clinics, and, we'd run into each other at stuff. And right now, we're both on the committee with the beach ball for the all-tournament team. So it's really been fun to go like full circle with him. Such a great guy and such a tremendous coach.
So your ceremony comes up in June in South Dakota. You already working on your speech?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what we're able to do when we go. I haven't gotten any of that information yet, and there is the possibility that I won't be able to attend, but we're still looking into that. We have our family vacation, my daughters, their husbands, my grandchildren, and everything, and it just so happens it's that week. So we're trying to decide exactly what's going to end up happening. When you reach my age, sometimes the family has to come first, especially when they weren't always first when you were coaching.
Sure,
So,
I understand
yeah.
that. I mean, how much did you, when you reflect on all that, how much did you sacrifice over the years?
Oh, well, a lot. I mean, people talk about it all the time, and I mean, who makes the most sacrifices when you're a coach? It's your family. I mean, my two daughters, Kate and Kristen, and then my wife, Valerie, they're the ones that should be receiving this award instead of me. And I mean, there are so many people that when you get a recognition like this, it's about everyone else. You know, everybody else that played a role in that. I mean, it's not just the players, and the parents, but you know, the coaches, the talented coaches that you're able to work with, the administrators, at the school level, district level, teachers, managers, community people. I mean, this is an honor for them too, and it means a lot to me, obviously, but I understand that if these people aren't involved, I'm not able to be a part of the success that we had. And I just feel so blessed and fortunate, and it's so nice to be able to look back and see all those people that played such an important part in your success as a person.
Well, it says the selection was based on longevity, service to high school athletics, career honors, and other specific state criteria. You meet all of that, and we certainly congratulate you. Whatever you decide about June and going out there and enjoy the vacation or enjoy the award ceremony, but we're just proud to have you here in our state, and we recognize you and congratulate you on a great career once again.
Can I say one more thing too?
Absolutely.
Scott Early, who's the executive director at the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association, you have to be nominated by your local association. And he was one of the people that pushed this through, and I wanted to thank the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association and him particularly, because this never would have happened if they had not initiated it.
Awesome. Coach, congratulations once again. Thanks for joining us. Have a great summer. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you,
Coach.
Tim Whipple. That's about as good as it gets, honor-wise, for a high school coach to get into that Hall of Fame. That's top of the line there. We congratulate him on that.
How's
we're going to
that
hit
Hall
the
of Fame
break.
not in Indiana, though? Doesn't that make more sense than South Dakota? Or is that just where the ceremony is?
Well, that's where the ceremony is. I don't know where the actual physical, being. And this is not a basketball Hall of Fame. This is a high
That's
school.
right. Yep.
All sports high school Hall of Fame. So we congratulate him on that, and a great move by Scott Early to nominate him and see that through. All right, let's hit the break. We got to come back with recruiting. Got to get another report from Smitty from Durham, update some other baseball, maybe hit on a couple of other topics, including, well, we'll just mention this. They did make it official. They're going to seed the teams in the college football playoffs now 1 through 12, no automatic seedings. It'll be, regardless of if you win your conference championship, it's going to be 1 through 12. The best team overall will be 1, then 2, and so forth. Be right back.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
Traveling can be the worst, especially when you can't find your favorite show. Well, don't worry. We've got the perfect way to keep up with everything happening in the Palmetto State when you're away from home. Just pull up the Chief Sports app on your mobile device, and you can listen live to Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network.
So the next time you can't find us on one of our great radio affiliates, just log on to the Chief Sports app, the best way to stay connected with the Sports Talk Media Network.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right, time for recruiting right here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells. All right, tomorrow is Friday. Not a roast beef Friday, but a yummy Friday nonetheless.
Indubitably. You like that word? Indubitably. Sliced beef brisket, teriyaki, and lemon pepper chicken wings, and baked flounder fillets along with their daily southern fried chicken.
Yep. Can you spell that word?
Indubitably?
Without Googling it?
Putting the phone down. INDUB. I don't know. I'm not going to embarrass myself. I think that's the right words, though. Right letters.
They're close enough. Close enough. All right, the daily luncheon buffet tomorrow, 11 to 2. And, of course, for the very best in the catering business, it is Seawells at SeawellsCateringSC.com, 803-771-7385. Their facilities at 1125 Rosewood Drive. South Carolina in the hunt with defensive tackle T. Ron Richardson. That's T-Ron. Can you imagine having to spell that? T. Ron Richardson. He's 6'5", 285. Hopewell, Virginia. South Carolina, after doing some evaluation, offered him. And Travian Robertson made the offer. Was in to see him in person a couple of weeks ago. They're talking about an official visit, but it's not set yet. Sometime in June, possibly. Georgia offered him Wednesday. Florida, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Auburn have offered. Penn State also offered on Wednesday. Maryland, Boston College, Syracuse, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, East Carolina, Marshall, and UConn. He says he's very athletic. He runs the 110 hurdles, and he's 285 pounds. And he runs the 110 hurdles. Yeah. I said, how do you do that? He just said athleticism. He says, that's the only way I can explain it. You've got to be very coordinated. It's a mix of coordination and balance and a mix of a little bit of everything. So he kind of brings that to the table, and that's why they like him. And to South Carolina, he's still doing some research on them, but he feels good about them. Big-time offer, SEC football, of course. He said that's big for him. Officials to Virginia, June 13th, Virginia Tech, June 20th. He's also set visits with Maryland, Auburn, and Oklahoma. There is no favorite for him at this particular time as he goes into these official visits. Last season, he had 62 tackles, 32 for loss, and 6 sacks. Clemson's one of the final 4 with defensive end Xavion Griffin Haynes, 6'6", 220, Rolesville, North Carolina. He's a former North Carolina commitment. He decommitted after they fired Mac Brown. He set officials to Clemson May 30th, followed by Michigan, Nebraska, and Florida State. Has a commitment date of July 1. 2027 Woodruff running back Aiden Gibson, 6'1", 203, picked up recent offers from Marshall and NC State. He also has offers from South Carolina, Florida, Virginia Tech, Coastal Carolina, Liberty. Clemson is also interested in him. Last season, 1,555 yards, 27 touchdowns. 2027 linebacker Jalathan Mayfield.
There we go.
From that hotbed, Lincoln to North Carolina. He visited South Carolina on Thursday. Clemson target, 2027 linebacker Max Brown was offered by Ole Miss, Sammy Brown's brother. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, or relatively early, South Carolina catcher Ryan Bakes is transferring. He spent 2 seasons with the Gamecocks and played in 31 games. That is recruiting tonight for you here on Sports Talk. Make sure you follow along on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. On our X account, Sports Talk, our X account, SC Sports Now. No, what is our X account? SC. What is it? Yeah, SC Sports Now.
SC Sports Now.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget it. SC Sports Now, SC Sports Now. And use the search phrase ST Recruiting. ST Recruiting will take you right to our stories. And we take you right to Matt Smith in Durham, North Carolina. One final update on Clemson and NC State. I'll tell you that Tennessee and Texas are going to the 12th at 5-5. Smitty, we do not wish you a 12 or 13 inning game tonight.
Oh, what's the difference? I'm settled in now. What's the difference? But the story here is that Drew Titsworth was able to escape a jam in the third inning. There were runners on first and third with nobody out, and NC State hit into a double play, and the runner at third failed to read it correctly. He thought it might be a line drive that might be caught, but instead it was kind of one of those topping ground balls and turned into a double play, and then Titsworth fanned the next batter. So Clemson holds a 1-0 lead, and remember, Bakich has a fully rested Lucas Malstedt waiting as well. So 3 scoreless innings for Titsworth, and that's bigger and bigger as we head toward the middle and late innings with Clemson's well-rested bullpen.
Smitty, what was it that Elliott Avant came out to talk about after that play? Watching it, obviously can't hear while the show's going on, but I noticed he came out to either talk to the umpires and they got together. What were they debating? Do you know?
Well, NC State had already challenged earlier in the game, and I think he was trying to petition to have them discuss whether Jaron Purify had touched second base. That's all I can figure. And Purify, to my eyes, did indeed touch second base and made the turn cleanly. So he may have seen it differently, and he may have just been grasping at straws because really the boneheaded play from the runner on third not scoring on that play was what hurt them, and he may have just been buying time for his team like a timeout, cool-off timeout in basketball, because really, to me, there was no question that Purify was on the bag and the double play was clean.
All right, Smitty, remind folks to follow your coverage on our X account, SC Sports Now, SC Sports Now. Smitty is posting throughout the ball game and, of course, post-game coverage on the website, SportsTalkSC.com. If you're a Facebook fanatic, it'll be on our Facebook page as well, Sports Talk Media Network, Sports Talk Media Network on Facebook. Thank you, Smitty. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. I think that's our Twitter handle. I'm like you, Corn. I get mixed up.
See you, Smitty.
Well, the problem is, thank you, Smitty, ever since we lost the original at Sports Talk SC, which we had since 2009, I think, 2009. Then we had like 3 or 4 others we tried to start, and X kept suspending it. It kept shutting us down. So I got all these different handles going through my head. No excuse. We've had this one long enough to where it should come to me naturally, but, not always do things come to me naturally anymore. High Point in 10 innings beat Charleston Southern 15-14. Winthrop and Radford getting underway shortly. Winthrop lost earlier today to Upstate 7-0, so Upstate is into play tomorrow morning. They've moved on. CAA at Patriots Point, and Northeastern has beaten Charleston 6-0. Shut them out again. Elon earlier beat William & Mary 7-4, so Elon and Charleston play an elimination game tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And then in the Southern Conference tournament taking place, Fluor Field in Greenville, you've got Western Carolina beating Mercer 10-3. Wofford leads the Citadel 2-0. What you got on Coastal?
They don't start for another half an hour.
Okay, so they're scoreless, you're telling me.
Yes,
they're
are scoreless with Marshall.
They are scoreless with Marshall. Okay, that will do it. If you missed anything, everything will be up in podcast form at SoundCloud, Spotify. We'll see you tomorrow.